Well, we're back again, Gary. So soon.
Indeed we are.
Yeah. So we've got to think of some things to talk about again, I guess.
Quicker than a monkey's uncle.
Indeed. I've not heard that you used that reference before.
I just made it up.
Does that make any sense at all? Or? So, we should talk about something that's going to help people. What are something we can talk about?
Something about sales.
Sales.
That's a nice, easy kick around.
Yeah. Sales is
for you.
Yeah.
And it's completely antithetical to me.
Well, though, hilariously, remember you started writing emails. Literally, the first ones you wrote, and you outsold. Like it was a record. You beat your first ones you wrote. Beat all of the ones I'd done for like the previous 6 months or something.
Oh, but that's come from my being a generalist thing.
Yeah.
I've read all of the stuff that you've done.
Yeah.
I've seen the patterns and the links. I get it, and I just went. It's Friday night.
Yeah.
I really want to go and have a beer, but I've got to do this. So
Because I've gone out and had a beer.
So let's just bang it out.
Well, sales is a good topic because I think people people do have this preconceived notion of what it is, that it's trickery.
Yeah.
And it's
or that it's hard.
Yeah,
it's an almost insurmountable wall or a fog that you've got to get through and over.
I think that's not helped by people trying to make things deliberately complex. Whereas sales really is just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just you make a transaction at the end, hopefully. And I've always found that I've never had to act duplicitous or anything. I've always been able to just be I can be completely honest. I think if you like what you're selling and you believe in it, then
of course that
easy.
makes a big difference. Yeah.
If you're trying to,
But we've always purposefully gone out of our way to be honest with people. With the agency, when people came to us and maybe even existing clients, said, "Oh, can you do this?" And we've looked at it and gone, no, that's not in our wheelhouse. We've just told them no.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people would be tempted to go, yeah, we can give that a go, or yes, we can do that, and then in the background try and work on how to do it.
That's like the agency of when I first moved to London,
Yeah.
Doing web design when they were not a web design agency at all. That's when it gets tricky. When you don't believe in it, or you know that you're not selling something that you should, this is not in your wheelhouse. That's when it becomes dodgy. But if you're selling something you believe in, you don't have to resort to any dodgy tactics. And I don't know how anyone would enjoy that even. I've always, I guess, with my background with Daryl, that's when I first met him, he was just always just so refreshingly honest, and you could see it just worked. I remember people saying we went to a conference. Marketing conference. I don't particularly like going to marketing conferences, and Daryl was there.
And weirdly, I do.
Literally had 3 marketing directors from big brands were having a conversation. One person said, I love Daryl. He's the only salesperson I actually like speaking to. And then someone it was in earshot was like, oh, Daryl, yeah, I love him too. He's amazing. And that's because he realises that he is the least important person in their inbox or in their on the phone. Like he goes out of his way to be courteous, and it's very disarming.
Yeah, and these were people that he was routinely trying to sell to. They weren't his clients or anything. Yeah. You should probably mention Tenacious.
I need to get him
and his group.
I need to get him back on it. He's doing really well. He's got lots of client work on, but I am going to try and get him to start doing his lives.
One of the other things is obviously with sales, you're not going to win all the deals you go for.
You lose more. Well, you lose way more than you win. The batting average is incredibly low.
Here's something that Mum always used to say to us, and probably still would.
Yeah.
If in the right circumstances, and it's a well-aged saying. What's for you never goes by you.
What's for you never goes by you.
So if you were meant to win that sale by being reasonable and personable and whatever, then if the actual business mechanics of it match up, then you should get it.
Yeah, and that's one thing people do need to realise is even the best salesmen and salespeople in the world they lose more than they
They
win.
lose 80%
And,
to
but
what's
no
on the
one
table
remembers
or
that. But
whatever.
no one,
Yeah.
everyone forgets the deals
Yeah.
it is. They just remember, oh, you won that deal. People only remember the successes you've had.
Yeah. And also, they don't generally publicise the failures.
No,
that they've
no, you
had.
don't brag on Facebook. Although I did do that once because I think it was a big fashion brand, and I remember I messed up because I went in with my usual approach, and I didn't have any enthusiasm for the industry. Like I'm clearly not a fashion guy.
Yeah.
And it was a good conversation, but she said, she could tell that this was not my level of expertise or enthusiasm. And people in that industry, there's a few industries like that, they'll work for peanuts because they love the industry so much, and I didn't have that, so that deal shouldn't have happened. No, maybe we're not the perfect agency. Not every deal is ideal. Obviously, you want to try and make as much money as possible, but that's one thing I would change if we were ever to go back and do agency work, is be more deliberate and pick the clients and do more personalised pitches rather than the spaghetti against the wall, which works, but you end up with a load of clients that
we ended up with some shitty clients.
Some weird
we had lots of really good ones
Yeah.
that responded to the approach, and that's why it worked. But a couple did fall through the net where we took them on, and they paid us quite a lot of money, but actually they were an awful fit for us. We could do the work, but personality-wise, we couldn't deal with them, and we had to get rid of them.
That was always an unusual thing that I obviously can understand now, but it always perplexed me, is you go in with super enthusiasm to pitch to a marketing manager or a marketing director, and then you realise they really don't give a shit about their job. They're literally showing up to get paid.
Yeah.
And that always perplexed me, this is your job, you should be enjoying it. They're literally going to make decisions based on what's the safest and what's going to...
That was one of the things, particularly when we were selling SEO was like our core service, and they were like, well, we're number 3 in Google for our top term, and actually the marketing director or the CMO wasn't really that invested in getting it to number 1, even though for the business that would mean a huge increase in traffic. If they actually got to number 1, the whole point of their job was questioned. I'm sabotaging my own company for my own benefit, sort of thing. I don't want us to get to number 1, or at least not very quickly. I want my fat salary for another 5 years before we get there, sort of thing.
And especially at bigger companies. That's the quote. No one's ever been fired for hiring IBM. I think is that the quote, or something like that. Yeah, that was always difficult to deal with. So if we were to go back, definitely we could have picked clients that we would have really loved to work with. That is definitely a change I would make, and I would suggest to people, if they are a freelancer or they do run an agency or a consultancy or whatever it is, that yes, spaghetti against the wall works, especially with charm offensive templates, but you should be more methodical, and because you can literally pick who you want to work with. You can't win them all, but if you're picking all the people you potentially want to work with, I think that would end up in a better situation.
I think there's a couple of things there. One is do both, because there are people that you really want to work with, and so you can personalise your pitches to them, and you're still not going to win, or maybe even get recognised by 80% of them, or whatever it might be. But you can also do the more mass thing, where you're doing the waggle dance bees thing, and you'll find the clients that you do really want to work with and do really want to, but you never heard of. Right, so you can serendipitously find those relationships through a mass approach.
Yeah, that's true.
That you would never know. This
That's
company
true.
And these people are people I can actually do really good work with and get on with. But you'd never heard of them before you sent them an email off a list.
It's true, because you do make assumptions. You might have dream clients, but that doesn't mean that the people working in that organisation are good people, or that they know what they're doing, or that they like your ideas.
Usually their brand.
There's a lot of assumptions that you make. One big assumption I used to always fail with is I would make assumptions on what I thought people could afford. And that got me into trouble, because luxury brands, you'd think they've got loads of money, often have pittance marketing budgets, and then you'd find some just a small to medium company, maybe manufactures some boring product, has an enormous budget. And I would make these assumptions.
They sell shitloads of whatever it is.
So making assumptions is definitely something that used to plague me, and you'd have to actively work against trying to make those assumptions. The other thing about sales is it's not a game of trickery. It is a conversation. It's like has this. I think it may have been complicated by marketers and influential types deliberately trying to make things more complicated than they are, and also people do have an interest in the minutiae, which is useful for us because we can create loads of product. But I think there is people think it's complex because it's pushed as this massively complex thing when really it's just a conversation, and you've got to persuade them that your offering is right for the objectives that they have, and that's all it is.
Yeah, very simply, you've got to be seen, or like you've got to have impact. You've got to tell them what you do, and then you've got to persuade them that you're the person to do it for it. It's that. That's the super high level. Yeah. Dave Trott stuff. When I first moved to London, have to get down into it much more than that. When I first moved to London, because SEO was not new, but it was still new enough that you had to sell people on the idea of SEO, and then that we were the right agency. But when something gets to a level of understanding, it's literally here's how we're different. Yeah. That's something we could talk about actually. There's two parts to that. One is the curious thing that we discovered, that when we started taking junior people to sales pitches, we would convert more of them. And I think that the logic I think behind that is that if you take a junior person to a pitch and they're really enthusiastic and they're interested, they don't have a financial incentive for winning that deal. If anything, their job's going to get harder. They've got more work on. Yeah, they're going to have a lot more work.
So it comes over as a love of the craft. Whereas if I was to go in, or if in an agency you've got a business development manager, they know that they're either on commission, or if you're the owner of the company, that's somewhat. There's something subconscious there that they know that the financial incentive is there. So maybe your enthusiasm is because of the financial incentive, or at least some percentage. Whereas if you take a junior with you, and they're enthusiastic and they deliver the pitches, I think it's seen as more love of the craft, and they really just want to get the results. Yeah. And I remember going into sales pitches with Daryl. He would obviously get the lead in, and then we would go into the pitch. He would speak for 2 minutes and introduce the agency, and then go, yeah, do you want to just hear from the guy that's going to be working on your account? And then I would just run through the, enthusiastically what I thought I could. And that always worked really well. And I think there is something to that taking someone that doesn't have a financial...
Maybe we should try that with email.
What's that?
Send a pitch from us to someone. Yeah. And then send a follow-up from a junior.
Oh, yeah. We could do that with... on that note,
not that we have one or anyone to send completely hypothetically.
Yeah. We don't want to do any work. This is work now. Like when you're on the phone to your wife earlier, and you're like, "Yeah, I've got to go back to work now," and I'm like, "This is work." It's unbelievable. I think sales skills, along with tech skills. We have talked previously about Ideal Talent Stack. I think sales skills are good. Some ability, but that's just an ability with people, really. I don't think there's any... Obviously, there are things specific to sales, but really it's just being good with people and being able to make a good case.
I'm quite hard to get to know on a personal level. Yeah. Like, we're quite different that way. You're quite...
gregarious.
And I can be gregarious. I can be, but only with people I already know. But some of the biggest sales that I ever made were either upsells on existing clients.
Yeah. You did 3 in 1 month at one point.
Or recoveries when they'd said they were quitting, and then I went into the repitch. Yeah. Or like they've put us up on, we need to get 3 more quotes, and you do. So those were some of the best, because the relationship was already there, and I already had that connection. That worked for me. Yeah. And to be honest, I didn't actually do very much in the way of
Some of you doubled.
the
I remember.
initial
We won't mention the client, but one of them just doubled 1 month. And I was like, how did you do that? You just managed it. Yeah, that's another thing that you're good with and I'm not so good with is things like we're going to put our prices up, which is obviously it was definitely the right decision. I'm somehow, I don't know, maybe out of a feeling of niceness or there's a tentativeness with making in air quotes like not greedy move. That's not the right word, but I'm more tentative on things like increasing prices or going for telling a client you want to spend more. I guess I want to avoid conflict of any kind, maybe.
Maybe, but you also, I think one of your biggest worries about it is you'll sell less because the price is more.
Yeah, but then...
but actually, we've consistently found that as long as you're bought into it, like we've made this change.
Yeah.
Like when we started running the agency, we would take anything, and we got a few bad clients. They weren't bad people, but they were really small budgets, a lot of work. So very quickly we had to put in a minimum of like £1,000 a month or something, and that got rid of that phone call at the end of every month. Why hasn't this moved by one thing? All the really niggly. And then not long after that, we'd got a few staff, and so we doubled it. Yeah, I know, and I remember you were really tense and worried about that. But actually, nothing changed in terms of how sales went. We continued to get more people in. Yeah. They were just paying twice as much. Yeah. And then a year or so after that, we doubled it again, and you were worried about it again. But at that point, we set a floor there where actually we started doing deals 2.5 times as big as our floor, because we'd anchored this is the minimum, and we were at the point then where we were speaking to some really big companies, and they were like, well, we're not having the bottom package. Like, we want the gold star, or at least that we'll go down the middle like everybody does. So when we said the minimum is £4,000 a month, we were winning 6, 8, 10 grand a month deals.
That is crazy how powerful anchoring is. Right? Just say they did a test on this, I forget, and it can be something as ridiculous as, say, in America, social security number or some long number versus a small one, and then you say it's amazing how powerful that is. It's such a simple thing. If you anchor a price, and naturally the client is going to try and negotiate you down. Actually, that's something I used to love saying is, we send a proposal and say we deliberately put the price further than, because we know you're going to negotiate down. Yeah, and we just kind of made a joke out of it. And I remember I was in a meeting with someone. It was an initial meeting, and I said that line, and I said, "Do you want me to change it? I can change it to the actual price." He was like, "No, I want to play the game. I'm going to lowball you." It's a fun business dance. Yeah, let's do it. And so that was always interesting. There's a topic somewhat related to sales, and it's a difficult one, and it kind of frustrated me. This is probably the biggest frustration I have with the agency model, is that, and we know this is evidenced by all of the big agencies that do terrible work, have got massive big brand clients with huge budgets, is that there didn't seem to be a direct correlation between results and clients that stayed. Like, we'd keep some clients that we do good work for, and they'd stay forever, and we'd get amazing results for other clients, and then they would jump ship. And it was like, I annoyed that, if I'm not trying to get results, if that is not a motivator to get people to stay, then why are we doing this? That always annoyed me, and that's probably, I think, the single biggest problem with the agency model. Because for me, it was like kind of proved that those big agencies, they had something there. All of the that they were doing well not because of results. They were doing well because the fancy offices, they got the presentation, they got slick
the champagne,
staff. And I didn't like that worked. I know that is an unfortunate fact, but the way to build an agency that's successful, it's annoying that obviously results should come into it, but not as much as they should, and that always frustrated me. I don't know what my point is with that, but there's something annoying with that model that I couldn't make. There's a word I'm searching for, but I can't think of it. That's why I much prefer this business model.
And also as well, when you get to that size, probably agencies, but also sometimes the people who are in-house. And also as well, there is like people who are in-house move to an agency and vice versa in the course of their careers. Once you get to that size of contract, there's like a 5-year lock-in.
Yeah.
So you do something for the first 2-3 months, and then your contact at the company goes to a different job.
Yeah.
But you're locked in for 5 years. You can coast. That's not what you should do. But if you're a big agency wanting to get bigger, you're going to focus your efforts on sales on other big companies bigger than that one. Well, it's not right, but it's what happens.
Yeah. Well, this is it's been interesting because obviously it's still sales. We're not doing like client. We're not pitching to people anymore because it's a different business model. But it's interesting. All of that experience has definitely benefited this new business model. It's still those skills are transferable. The salesmanship and persuasion. One big thing that I think we did really well is coming up with sales hooks. Like we'd have a content marketing process. We'd talk about pre-marketing, or we'd always have something that would make them think. When we're doing the pitch, that's interesting, and they're going to tell their colleagues about this. They've got a mechanism where they don't waste budget because they ask journalists before we've created any content if they would actually cover it. Like, what do you think of this idea? Involve them from the start. That little tiny switch gave us such a potent sales hook, and that's really beneficial in direct response copywriting. That's a huge thing, right? It's a unique mechanism, and that's something that's
we had
really
an 80-step process. He says flippantly, knowing that it was actually 82.
May skip a step once or twice. We got some great results with that as well. I did like the content marketing stuff because that's as well as the charming, cold pitching is a skill everyone should have. I think another really important skill that's as powerful, if not more powerful, is be able to get mass PR coverage. Like to be able to create a story, kind of like the Linden stuff, but we did it as well. Is coming up with, I've lost my train of thought.
It's the creativity side to that.
Yeah.
Like using the cold pitching to sell the content is one thing, but you've got to have the creative content first. You've got to have something that works.
I think we liked it as well because it was fun. Although the Black Hat stuff, when we had to, when Google finally changed the algorithm to you could be negatively affected if you built shitty links. You could you would be disgraced. So we had to move to content, but it was actually really enjoyable. There was actually more creativity to it.
Enjoy that way of doing things anyway. We actually started doing the content stuff 2 years before that happened, but not full time like with every client because most of the clients wouldn't buy it because they were used to every SEO agency going, pay us this much, you'll get this many links this month. And we didn't like doing that. It was no fun. It was like being an accountant.
It's true. It's just very systematic.
Which is fine if you're an accountant, that's what you want to do. But that's not what we want to do. So
the PR story that I liked recently, there's a CBD store in Brighton. And they put a job application up for a master roller. I just thought that was genius. How clever is that? And what I like is that with charming cold pitching, or any kind of cold pitching, anyone with a smartphone or even a pen and paper can get a meeting with anyone in the world. The cool thing about the clever PR is any company, no matter how small, can get international coverage.
And they did
massive
from a stupid job advert. 2 hours a week.
I think that is incredibly powerful because if you're able to consistently do that, you can pretty much build any company with no advertising spend. Obviously, it's easier probably for a CBD company to come up with creative ideas than maybe a toaster company, but there may be some benefit in something.
Well, OkCupid did it. They got bought out by Match.com from using user data anonymised to create long blog posts with a few graphs.
That was the best, probably my favourite example of that. There's a blog. Anonymised their data, and the headline was iPhone users have more sex. I just thought that is genius. So we've got sex in there. We've got the battle of Apple and Android against each other. They had all the elements, and it was it would be harder to find a publication that didn't cover that story. It was that irresistible.
Yeah, and that was literally like the third or fourth graph on the page.
Yeah.
All they'd done was one guy spent 18 hours reviewing user data to find correlations and draw pretty graphs. Yeah. And he would do this once a month.
Yeah.
And this is what we found this month. And in the middle of that was this story. Yeah. So they were like pitching 8 stories in each blog post, but they did it consistently. I mean, that particular graphic was far and away the best out of all of them. Yeah. But that series of blog posts, 2 days a month for one guy going, here's some data, let's make this into a graph, blah, blah, blah. Here's 8 of those, that's a nice long blog post, we'll put that out on. And they get acquired by the biggest company in the space.
Someone made I think it was Kevin's idea, where we wanted to do a Google Maps mashup where we could show which areas were up and coming or being gentrified by how many tailors versus chicken shops there were. Yeah. Someone eventually did this. It did really, really well. Yeah. But what was it? How did Lyndon describe it? The incongruent juxtaposition of two of different elements that shouldn't go together. It'd be good to be able to try and probably difficult to try and summarise that the whole science of that, but there's something interesting in being able to do that, create stories that are just journalists can't resist, and that's still related to sales because you're selling to.
That's what Lyndon's for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we should mention his group.
Yeah.
What's the
Content Creative Collective?
No, Content Creative Sketchpad.
Yes,
that's it.
Sketchpad.
That's it. Being able to do that, I think, is super powerful, and it is related to sales because you're selling these ideas to journalists. That's another. You're not trying to, make money from journalists, but you're pitching to them that this is going to be beneficial for them, that your goals align, because they want page views. I imagine some journalists these days are judged on page views and social shares.
These days, a lot of them are freelance. They might even get commission.
So it's a powerful skill. I think more people should try and get good at it. So they should join Lyndon's group. I wonder if this policy of promoting all these talented people is going to backfire on us one day. I don't think it is.
It's
not. What else on sales?
See, I know nothing about it.
I think people are afraid of being pushy as well. Like, you've got to follow up. That's one thing. Is the client is not going to chase after you.
We were quite bad at that.
Yeah.
We used to send. We'd be like, we need some clients.
Yeah.
Send the email.
Yeah.
To like 800 or 1,000 people or whatever we'd got at the time. Yeah. Get a load of meetings to do a load of business. But we would, and then it would be like, okay, we've done that. It's 3 months later. We need some more business.
Yeah.
Send the email to 1,000 new people again.
Yeah.
We never had a series or a sequence or followed up.
I did. Yeah. My solution was I wanted higher open rates. I didn't think to send follow-up emails. It was like, send something in the post. That was my logic, and then I'll mention the unusual things.
That's a little bit Dave Trott. That's getting upstream of the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I figure there's not many digital marketing companies sending direct mail, and because it's B2B and the retainer fees or the project fees were in the thousands or tens of thousands or more. That postage cost is negligible, and you're going to have their attention, and they can't just click on another tab
and even if they don't reply, they will reply to the email generally when you've got the call back.
Yeah, well, that's something we talk about. Is the other? It's coming a bit of a pitch for charm offensive pitching, but it is another benefit, and I think it's probably as important as the you get the gushing responses, really positive responses. People want to have a call with you. I think as important is that it qualifies and disqualifies. So you can imagine people replying with, "You should be more professional." It's like, thank you for saying that. I never have to work with you ever again.
Yeah,
I would really like to have directed those people to.
They were
they reveal themselves.
You got lots of really nice responses saying, "Sorry, can't work with you now. We've got no budget. We're in a contract with an existing agency," or "We're just not interested in this area of marketing," or whatever it might have been. But normally cold emails don't get any response.
Yeah.
In fact, quite a lot of the time they just don't get read.
Yeah.
Like I'm not reading that.
Yeah.
Straight in the bin, straight in the bin, straight in the bin. Whereas people would actually respond, going, "Oh, this was a really good email. You made me laugh. You can't help me, but like, thanks for."
And they would forward it on as well.
Yeah.
And
and then we did get some like really angry responses, very very small percentage, but we did get some like almost furious responses. And then like there was one guy who was like, "This is awful. This is the worst kind of
it's the worst
ever."
sales and marketing email I've ever received. And if I can tell this, because I like the line.
Yeah.
And before I could correct him on his mistake, he had replied to me to say, "But the irony is not lost on me that I replied to you." And then we had a good chat. But that is an important thing, because you want to. I think there's something to that. That if you share a sense of humour, often they will reply and they will match. They will try and match your tone. They will speak to you like friends. They're not. They dispense with the corporate bullshit.
That was a huge advantage going into meetings with corporates.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we could talk. We were immediately just talking like friends. That's a huge deal. We should probably talk more about that in our pitches.
We'll do that later.
We'll do that later.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah, indeed. So how do people say someone is not a natural salesman, or they haven't worked in sales? How do they improve their skills? My opinion on this is, as with everything, you've just got to go for it. Start sending emails, and you will get the confidence comes with competence, right? Where else does it come from?
It depends what you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff you can be quite personable about, but you don't actually have to have any personal interaction. Like, you don't even have to have a phone call these days sometimes to sell something. If you're going to be a consultant or you're an agency or whatever, you absolutely have to have that. If you're selling products or if you're selling software as a service, you don't. In fact, that's almost unheard of that you would expect to have that. Yeah. So there are ways. You've got to take action. Yeah. Basically.
You know what? Just it's a slight tangent, but when we pitched to Symantec and how honest we were about how excited we were, this is going to change everything. A lot of the sales advice I've seen is all about, like, put your shoulders up, and you got to be authority, and you got to show that you're this expert. We didn't try that. I think if we'd have tried that tact, we would not have done well at all.
In fact, I think I possibly wore these jeans, and I definitely wore a much louder shirt than this to the meeting.
Yeah, we wore lobster.
I mean, Kev did put his suit on, but that was him.
That's him. That's Kevin.
He would wear a suit to the office every day, while everybody else was in
well, if he had a
jeans
anyway. He was always smart.
Yeah.
You should do you. There's nothing wrong with if that's you, go with that. But people don't have to. They don't have to be this slick. Well, I'm not a slick salesman type. They don't have to pretend to be that kind of type. You can just be honest in yourself. And if you are really excited, legitimately, like, this is going to change our business, I think you can say that. And there is some psychological phenomenon that people, and Rory Sutherland spoke to me about this before. There is a tendency that we like to do people favours. There's something where we like. So if you're you're really honest. Like, obviously you've got to prove that you've got a good idea, for a campaign that's going to work for them. But there's something in. They get something out of. Not only are they going to help themselves, they're going to get a good agency, they're going to get good results. But there's some element of it where.
They're doing some good in the world. Yeah,
they're helping this. I found this, and also that they found this new talent. People like to share content that is similar with finding new talent, and I think there's something to that where and this transfers as well to we did a sale, I think, and we just give an honest reason for it. I think I did one once where I need a new deposit because I'm moving flat, so it's the John needs a new deposit flash sale. Just be honest about the reasons for the sale, and people will buy. People will not only buy because they want the product, they also want to help. They want to help out.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's something that people talk about very much. Is that
you
there are other reasons.
You can't do that in an agency pitch.
But, no, that probably wouldn't transfer as well. But couldn't go like we're discounting this because we're desperate and we need to pay our staff. No, you couldn't do that. So yeah, that probably doesn't transfer, but it does well in what we're doing now, selling digital
I don't know ways to
subscriptions.
make it transfer.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, so there's, I think there's a lot more to sales than just the solving a pain point. Obviously, you've got to get on with people. You've got to show that you're nice to work with. But it's not just about. So much of the sales training I've seen has just been focused on you've got to really know their pain, and you've got to. There's a lot more to it than just the solving of their problem. It's like being someone that they actually want to work with, being enthusiastic. People will choose you over someone else for reasons other than just their immediate self-interested objectives. Is what I'm trying to say. So there's something there.
And also, people will choose you for reasons that you can't even fathom.
Exactly.
That you've got no idea about. No matter how much research you do into the company or the person.
Yeah. There's so a lot of different moving parts, I guess, and
this is another thing that worries people that are new to it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, these guys are talking about all these different moving parts.
Yeah.
But actually, you've just got to get into it.
But to be honest, the thing is that we didn't. I've never deliberately studied sales, and then I don't think I've really deliberately studied most things. I just try and do them, and then I get good at them.
Wow.
And this was just a consequence of just trying to be a good person. Obviously, I've got my own objectives. I want to make money, and we want to do good work. But I don't know. I had a point there and I've lost it again. I don't know. I had something there and I've lost it completely.
Well, it's fine. I think at this juncture, we should put in a sales pitch for Dre.
Oh yes, our long-suffering producer, Dre. Oh God, the stuff he has to put up with. So Dre is
exceptional.
He's exceptional. I'm not just saying that because he's right in front of me. He's exceptional, and it would help us out. Not only help Dre out, well, it would help us out. It's actually, that's not a good pitch. Let me start that again. Let me just go into promo mode. I'll go into WWE promo mode. Okay, at this point we should mention our long-suffering producer Dre, who helped put all this together and convinced her to do this, because we've been... How long have we threatened to do this?
We've been hemming and hawing about this for about 3 decades.
That's about how long I've been alive. So, but anyway, I'm really happy to be doing this. Dre is awesome. If you want a podcast created of this quality, look how good he's made me and Gary look with this, with all of the production values. If you are thinking of starting a podcast, or even if you're not, you should consider it. And if you do, you should go to Dre. That was not the best pitch in the world, but I will get better.
Just do it.
Just do it. So there's a pitch for Dre. We should probably pitch an opt-in as well, because this is going to go on LinkedIn. That's an interesting topic. This relates to how Dre sold us on this, or he sold me. There was one thing he said that converted me.
Yeah.
Because we were thinking about it. He said LinkedIn video. Because the reach is massive, and we obviously know that from experience when we post something on LinkedIn, especially when we get the email list and the Facebook group to like and comment to extend the reach. I know that there's loads of reach there. Like we can get
cheat
potential. Yeah, well, influence. That's the thing that sold. That's the thing that tweaked me, was when you said LinkedIn video. I was like, yes, I know now that we can get loads of views for this. So that was the little thing that definitely helped push me over the line.
Of course, it's not cheating. It's absolutely the right thing to do.
It's influence.
Yeah.
It's influencing the algorithms through,
nature.
Dastardly. Yes, exactly. How many minutes are we at, Dre?
You've done 41 minutes.
Cool.
Again?
Awesome. Oh, this is so much fun. This is great. This is work now.
Yeah.
How ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
This is work. This is amazing.
We'll be movie stars before we know it.
Well, I think we can probably wrap it up there. I think we've given hopefully a lot of useful tips.
Yeah,
and Dre must begin the unfortunate and hopefully not too disenjoyable.
Please cut it down.
Thank you very much. We will be back very soon.